Hi there. Today we are looking at how to sew this beautiful baby dress with layered asymmetric high-low 360 skirt and puff sleeve. Very easy and beginner friendly. If this is something you'd love to do, stick and stay and let's do it together. We mark this to serve as our starting line. Then we divide our shoulder to shoulder measurement by 2. We add our seam allowance of 1/2 inch to it. Then our shoulder slope. We also mark our neck width. Then we join the shoulder slope to the neck width. After that, we divide our round arm measurement by 2 and mark. We square this off. Then we divide our bust measurement into 4 and then we add our seam allowance. Then we mark our shoulder to waist. Then we square this off as well. On the waistline, we divide our waist measurement by 4 and add our seam allowance. Then we connect it to the bust. We divide our arm depth by 3. Then we square off. This serves as our cross chest line because we are drafting the front. Then we divide our cross chest measurement by 2, add 1/2 inch allowance. This is our shoulder to shoulder divided by 2 with our seam allowance again. Then we mark our armhole. We are refining this armhole as you see. This is our neck depth of 3 inches. Then we mark our neck hole, that is our front neck hole. We'll go ahead and cut this out. We use the same thing to cut another piece, but making sure we leave some allowance in front and on top and beneath. And so we will fold in our zipper allowance and then we place the pattern on. Then we'll cut the same shape excluding the neck. I would want to widen the neck width a bit, and this is just a matter of preference. Then we refine our neck hole. That is the front neck hole. After that, we trace these very lines also to the back pattern. Then this is the shape we would want to give the back neckline. And so we cut this out. Then we use this to cut our fabrics, and so we've cut 2 pieces of the same fashion fabric, even though one would serve as the lining and then one the fashion fabric itself. Right, and so we're going to join the shoulders as you see. This is what we're going to do. And so we place them good sides together. Then we clip it with our fabric clip. Then we'll go ahead and stitch this. We do same for the lining as well. After stitching, we always say the golden rule for sewing is to press as you sew. And so we press open our seams, that is our shoulder seams. Neatly pressed. Right, after that we put the 2 good sides together and then we clip it with our fabric clips. If you don't have this, you can also pin them. Now we'll go ahead and stitch this neckline. We are also creating notches along the seam line we just created. We stitched this using a hem tape, and that is to make sure that when we flip it over and then we give it a press, the neckline lies very low. We're going to do an understitching of the lining. Right, and so this is what I was talking about. Because of the hem tape, after you give it a press, it lies very flat. Now for the skirt, we first mark our front skirt length. Then we divide the waist circumference by 6.65, and that is what will give us the radius for our skirt. Then we pin that part, and then we also pin it onto our table. Then we're going to use this as our compass and then mark the front skirt length all the way through to get our 360 degrees. And so that's exactly what we are doing. Bear in mind, this was the radius plus the front skirt length. That is what we've pivoted. Now this is the waist that we are marking. And so our waist was 20 inches. And so divided by 6.65 gave us 3 inches. And so that is what we have used. Then, because the back is supposed to go down, it's a high-low skirt, we would have to extend it to the length that we so desire. Bear in mind, we're going to place our layered parts on, and so it wouldn't have to be exactly what we want. It should be a little shorter than what we require. Then what we have, we're also projecting to the side, as you see. All right. Then we join them. I think I need to carry this part. All right. Okay, so I'm refining the line again. So this would be the parts that we are, fixing our layered skirts on. And so I'm doing 3 inches interval. So between the waist and the first line was 3 inches. Within the first line and then the second line, we're doing 3 inches. Then the third line, 3 inches, but then we'll do it just for the back. It wouldn't go to the front because the front is shorter than 3 inches. We are marking as many layers as possible that we would get. This is quite easy and beginner friendly, as we stated from the beginning. Right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 7 and 8 layers if we so wish. We'll go ahead and cut this out. Yeah, by doing the cutting, I think we need to extend the side a little bit so that the back flows more. And then we extend our layered lines to meet this new line we just drew, and then we cut it out. All right, so we're cutting the skirt waist. To make sure that we have the same line on the other side, we would also trace this lines so that it gets to the other side. This is something that should have been done on the fabric itself, but then for easy tutorial sake, that's why we're doing it this way. And so it's the same thing that will be replicated on the fashion fabric, but this comes out a bit clearer. When it's marked on the fashion fabric, it doesn't, become this visible. All right, and so after this, we use this to cut our fashion fabric, and then we'll go ahead and finish the edges all the way through. We finish it all up. After finishing it up, then we have to place our pattern paper on it. Then, just as I said initially, we're just going to trace the markings we have here onto the fabric. And because the chalk is quite faint, that's how come I had to use the brown paper so that we know exactly what we are doing. So what we have on the brown paper, that's exactly what is being replicated here. Right, after that, we cut this organdy fabric. It measures about 7 inches width. You can do it shorter or longer depending on your preference. And so we've cut as many as possible. In all this, it's appropriate to use about 6 yards or more. Then we've gone ahead to finish one side of it after we had folded it up, and so this part has been knitted. All we are doing is that we are pleating it onto the markings that we marked for our layers. This is what we are repeating till we exhaust all the organdy that we have, and also the lines that we've drawn. As it gets to the end, you'd cut it, open it up, then we flip it to the side and then go ahead and stitch. This is because we used organdy. If you had to use a fashion fabric, you wouldn't have to fold it in two as we have. Rather, you just do one layer and then you finish the edges. And so using this was a matter of preference. Please take a second of your time to hit the subscribe button in case you have not done that yet. So we continue with our pleats, as I said, so we exhaust everything. After we've gone to finish the edge, right after cutting it off, we'll stitch so we get to the very tip of the last layer, just as you see. Right after this, we move on to the next. That's why I said this is a very easy and beginner friendly video that we can all try at home, or we can all try to make that's more appropriate, I think. And so we're repeating this all the way through. We're repeating this all the way through. Anytime we exhaust the organdy, we just have to continue by finishing the edges, and then we continue with another. So we do this so that it's able to run through. If not, we would only end up wasting lots of the organdy, where you're able to cut very long strips and then you use each for each line. That would also be quite nice. That is if you have enough of the organdy. If not, and then you'd want to economize it, I think doing this is just about the best. And so we'd have to jump a few of the processes and then move to finish that of the waist, as you can see. The chunk of the work has to do with pleating the organdy onto the fashion fabric. But the beauty is worth it, trust me. Right after that, we move on to the top. This is something I decided to create. I realized the back was quite longer than needed, and so I needed to, taper the back a bit, and so I just folded it in by about 1 inch, and then would go ahead and stitch that very portion only. That's just the tip, and so that's what we have. We created a design, and that was beautiful. After that, we put them good size together like this, and then we take off our seam allowances. Right, so we're marking these seam allowances and then we'll go ahead and stitch them. Now for the sleeve, we marked about 11 inches length and then we squared them off. And so this would be for the sleeve head, and the other side, this very side, is for the bicep. And so whatever we had as our around arm, we quite of tripled it so that it becomes a little bigger, and then we're shaping this side because of the puff. Right, and so we're adding our hem allowance of just about 1/2 inch to it. Then we'll go ahead and cut this. We cut this, and then we use it to also cut another piece so that we have both sleeves for the left and the right. Alright, and so now we'll go ahead and finish the edge by neatening it. After doing the neatening, we flip just about 1/4, even though we added 1/2 inch as our allowance. We are flipping just about 1/4 because we want the elastic we are going to insert to be quite tight in there. We don't want it to be loose, because if it is, it doesn't make it nice. We'll do this, and then we'll go ahead and then we stitch this. After stitching, we are inserting 1/2 width inch elastic in it, and we need just about 5 inches, and so we mark that 5 inches on the elastic, as you see. Then with the help of a safety pin, we're inserting this into the case we've created. And so we continue adjusting it till we get to the 5 inches mark. So as you see, there's a 5 inches mark we have right here. We'll go and stitch that, and then we can cut the excess off and continue with the adjustment. Then we also cut the end, and then go ahead and stitch that as well. Now, after we're done with the hem, we're going to do 2 loose, stitches on the sleeve head, and then we'll also gather it. And so we continue gathering. We continue gathering till we have exactly what we need that will fit into the armhole of our dress that we already have. Right, and so when we place the dress itself, when we place it on, this is what we have. We can see that it would match. Then we would have to turn this to the good sides together. We'll go ahead and stitch this part, and then we finish it up. We come and then insert it into the top's armhole. Right, and so we're going ahead to stitch all the way around, and we do same for both of the sleeves. This is it, neatly done. Very, very easy, very easy. After that, we're now going to insert the skirt onto the top, but before that, we need to finish this part of the organdy, because when it comes to the top part of our layered skirt, we left the center backs opened, and because there is no opening in the skirt, after we stitch that, we are going to stitch the back flat down so that we're able to insert the zipper without any hindrance. And so we're just stitching 2 parallel lines so that we're able to slit through the skirt. I hope this is not confusing at all. So we are slitting through the center back of the skirt to allow for the opening. And once we have this, we can insert the top part into the skirt, matching the center front, our side seams, then the center back. And so we're just aligning them, as you see. You can either do that with the fabric clips, or you can do that with your regular pins, whether with a plastic head or the normal pins. Any of them that is appropriate or available, you can do that. You can use that. Right, and so this is it, neatly matched. So I'm pinning this very part. The aim is just to distribute the fullness of the skirt, right along that of the top. After this, we'll go ahead and stitch them together right here. After that, it's now time to insert our zipper. Once we've stitched the skirt part down, inserting the zipper is quite easy. And so we stitch one side. We stitch one side all the way to the top. And after stitching that very side to the top, yes, we're marking the end part of the zipper. That is where it's supposed to end. And this is the top part, so that we're able to match the same thing on the other side of our dress without having one longer than the other. Right. And so we're making sure that we put the two zipper jackets, aligning the markings straight. And so we've aligned that of the bottom and we've aligned that of the top. We are stitching till it gets to that very part on the top, as you see. So that's where the mark is. That's where we end it exactly. And so after this, once we close it and we see that it's all well aligned, then we can further cut the skirt part. As it gets close to where we ended our stitches, then we meet the corners on both the left and the right side. So we meet the corners. If we're able to do this, it would make the zipper, nice at the back without protruding or, anything. And so this is it as we have here. Very nice and finished. We'll go ahead and then secure the base of our zipper. And then we'll finish the zipper. Then we would also create our bow as we have in the bow tie. We create that and then place it at the back. Thank you so much for watching till this time. I'm so much grateful. See you on our next video.